This video is brought to you by 86. Pick up video game apparel from Skullgirls and Monster Hunter World. 86.com/?AFF equals 4 and let them know that we sent you. Hello everybody! It has been eons, ages, years, well not years, but it's been a good while since you heard my voice. Welcome everybody to the last episode of the Mission Shot podcast. To kind of dive into that before I get into it, I'm joined by no other than Greg Dietz.
Hey guys.
So if you have been wondering why there hasn't been much content to the website, or for YouTube for that matter, at least for a little bit. After 10 years, which is funny to think about because and I'll get into the history of it, but after 10 years of working on the site and producing content of all sorts, articles, photos, reviews, videos, me and Greg decided that, or at least for me specifically, we still want to make content together, but we decided not to produce any more content for the website. And the reason being is, for me personally, the website has grown so big and so large that it takes a ton of man hours to organize it.
The other aspect to it is that, as Anthony is correct, it has grown. It's only grown in the aspect of people who want to contribute. Mm-hmm. Our listener base, the people who enjoy the stuff, the numbers just aren't that big. So we don't have the money to pay a bigger staff. We don't. We didn't have money to pay ourselves. So at the end of the day, it was just cut the umbilical cord or keep hemorrhaging money on our own end.
Yeah.
Our time and our money. So it was better that we call it now, work on our own stuff, support each other in our future endeavors, and this is, it's like a breakup, but like where it's mutual.
Yeah, it basically is that. Like I feel like what we have done with Mission Start Podcast. I mean, just to go back in history, like the whole reason Mission Start Podcast website or the podcast existed was because I grew up listening to OneUp.com and the podcast that they produce on there. Listen to all of it, and I wanted to do something similar, or I wanted to get into the game industry somehow. So it's like, oh, I want to do something like them. So since I decided the podcast. I remember distinctly the very first episode I recorded. It was my brother and I, and it was a bunch of other people I did not know, and we went to somebody's place in Napa. Again, I did not know. I just convinced them, like, hey, let's do a game podcast. And so the way it worked was we recorded on a laptop. We had a Rock Band mic that we were swapping around whenever we want to talk. And the very first thing I remember saying to the mic when talking about it, for people who listen to me, like I kind of take a very long way of saying my point or saying what I'm trying to get. My brother just takes the mic away from me, so just gets right to the point. We're here talking about game news and games. So that's the spawn or the very first episode of the podcast. It's actually still up on our YouTube and website.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What's really funny is that my foray into podcasting was not inspired by OneUp, even though I knew about it and it was probably around, like it existed at the same time. Mine was the Freaking Awesome Podcast. No, I'm sorry, that's the one I did. The Totally Rad Show with Alex Albright and Dan Trachtenberg and Jeff Kanata.
Oh wow! Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. It was on, I think they were doing their own thing for a little bit, and then Rev 3 picked it up, which Rev 3 was a bunch of guys that worked at Tech TV before it got taken over by G4. It's a whole long story. But those three guys just talking about nerd stuff, I was like, man, I really want to do that. Like, I feel like my opinion is cool and yada, yada, yada. So I had a friend named Wow, why am I drawing a blank on his name? Lito. And he contacted me. He was like, "Hey man, I know that you've been wanting to do a podcast, and I have a couple friends who do um I have a couple friends who do a podcast. They basically it's called the Freaking Awesome Podcast. It's just like Totally Rad Show. Do you want to be a part of it?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." And God, this was 9 or 10 years ago, something like that. And I went and did that with them, and I loved it. I remember the first thing I reviewed on their podcast was not Splosion Man, but the same company, Twisted Pixel. They made like this weird superhero game. Yeah. It was like a weird superhero, like comic booky sort of game. And that was the first thing I ever reviewed, like in general, like ever. No, that's not technically true. I take that back. That's not technically true. I did do some stuff in high school, but whatever. But yeah, like I want to say I did a couple more episodes with them, and then shortly after everything, uh, it was Ben or John got a hold of me, and they were just like, "Hey, man." So I think it was Ben got a hold of me. He said, "Hey, so John doesn't like he's starting a family, doesn't want to do the podcast anymore, and I need a co-host. Do you want to do you want to do that?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I do." But this was also before the internet was like as easy as it is now to just get a hold of somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you contacted me today very easily through Facebook. That was not the way it was, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, we couldn't just get on a Skype call and record it. We had to be live. I mean, I imagine we could, but I didn't have the technology. He didn't have the tech. So, what I had to do was contact was my buddy Mike. Basically, him and I had him on the show all the time, and I don't really care if Mike is listening to this now. He wasn't a very good podcaster in any way, shape, or form. He constantly didn't pick up on hints or clues. Like there was one of my favorite moments, Anthony. I don't know if you remember this. You weren't there for it, but I'm sure you heard it. Because this was before you and I became like good buddies and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It was around the time that the Wii U was being announced. It hadn't come out yet. It was just announced at E3, and we were doing E3 coverage. And they came out and they just showed the controller with the screen on it. That's all they showed. Nothing else. But they explained what the fucking Wii U was. They were like, this is the controller. The console is a different thing, and it uses the Wii controllers. They said all of it, but they didn't show it. So we had this longest fucking argument with Mike. And I remember Lito just losing his mind. That was so fucking funny.
Wow.
And then at the end of the conversation, Mike's like, "That's what I'm saying. Like, it's that's not the console." And we're like, "The fucking hell!" It was we were just losing our shit. But
oh god.
that was one of my favorite. It's one of the funniest things. And but yeah, so after that, I started doing my own thing with them called Overtime. Overtime was born because of Tron and Tron Legacy. Believe it or not. So when Tron Legacy came out, they did a video game. They had a comic book that connected between Tron and Tron Legacy. There was a whole soundtrack made by fucking Daft Punk.
Mm-hmm. We
wanted to cover all of that, but we didn't have enough time. So we had to do a thing called Overtime, where we talked about whatever was left over. Overtime evolved into just like, hey, something that Greg wants to do, which is where I started doing the summer movie wager, because the totally rad show guys are doing it. So, but yeah, it was a very good experience. I don't want to go into detail about what caused me to leave them and start working with you, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember when you and I met for the first time?
It was the zombie walk in Sacramento, I want to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We were standing in front of that tattoo piercing shop. Because I didn't expect you. There's no offense. I don't mean any offense by this, but I did not expect you to be that short. But I also didn't think you expected me to be this big.
Yeah, I feel like we both had different ideas of one another.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, all right, well, okay, Anthony, what's up?
Yeah. Yeah, that.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I still remember when you contacted me, because at first it wasn't that you wanted me on the podcast, you wanted me to write for you.
Yeah, I was kind of keeping you in my peripheral vision as far as like what you were doing over there. And as the site grew, one of the things that I wanted to do, just like One Up, was to have reviews. And the website, in terms of review wise, there'll be a few articles that my brother will write up, or I would write up. And for the longest time, it used to be just me and my two other friends who would man the site. It was me, my friend Alex, and Nathan. They were high school buddies. And after a while, they kind of fell out, didn't want to do it anymore. Now it's when I'm kind of maintaining it. And I was keeping an eye on you because I know you were with the Abaya brothers and doing content for them. So I was like, back in my mind, I was thinking, one day if he becomes a free agent, I could totally just get him to work for me. That'd be great.
What's funny is that after I left them, you contacted me like 80 fucking times. You wanted me on the team so bad, and I kept declining it. Like, I don't know why. I just remember, like, I was a quote-unquote free agent for a very long time before I finally said yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was... I truly do not remember why I kept saying no. But yeah, I remember the first review that I put up was actually about Portal 2, mainly because I had already had it written.
Gotcha. Yeah,
I had a friend. She was basically starting to tell me that the only way someone can become a good writer is by going to college. And I was like, that's not true, and so I had to prove her wrong.
I see.
And I'm not saying college isn't a bad idea. I'm just saying it's not always absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And when she read that review, she was just like, "Oh my god! All right, well, I guess I'm wrong." And so yeah, that was the first thing I put up there. But I think the thing that I wrote that I was arguably the most proud of, Anthony, and I still read this article to people from time to time, and that's the 12 worst Christmas specials I could find.
Oh yeah, that did that traffic wise, that did pretty well, and I think still does well to this day, actually.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it took me a lot of effort. Like, I put a lot of work into that thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't remember when I started doing the podcast with you, because I think I was just on as a guest from time to time.
Yeah, you were majority a guest for a while. I remember I remember the first episode where it was you, me, pretty much what was it? The Overtime podcast crew? Like, it was it was Mike, it was Jeremy, it was Chris. Like, this entire like I want to say 7 to 8 people, like, in online conversation. Like, we had this podcast, and it was, I forgot what the subject was, but we had like this in-depth, just very good podcast. We were all communicating to one another. We're having deep conversations, and it went on for a while.
Yeah, we weren't doing news as like right away.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that like originally the podcast was just like talk about whatever you want in terms of video games.
Yeah, and we had this deep conversation, and then I think it was a day later. I told you guys I didn't record it. I messed up on it, and so it was like, well, it was a good discussion. Oh
Yeah.
man, that was the beginning of my technology woes when it comes to recording stuff.
Yeah.
But I can't remember exactly when the first episode of you came on officially, as part of as the crew. But yeah, like since then we've created a ton of content over the years. Not only missions or podcast, but like we even delve into
Let's play.
Yeah, let's play. We did a little bit of the aftermath, which the podcast was talking about the endings of some games. We talk about them.
I don't remember doing that at all.
We did one on Bioshock Infinite DLC. I think we did. It's still up. I still have it. So we it's.
Are you talking about the Burial at Sea DLC? Because I didn't play that.
No.
When it first came out, I didn't play that for a long time.
It was the DLC to Bioshock Infinite.
That's Burial at Sea.
Okay, then it has to be it. Then weird. I think I played it. I can't remember. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if I go back and listen to it, I'll remember what I'm talking about.
I mean, if it happened, I'm just saying if it happened, I don't remember it. That's all I'm getting at. Like, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I have no recollection of it.
Right. Point being, like, we kind of like just kind of dive into different ideas, and I was never opposed to anybody who wanted to do something on the site. My whole idea behind content on the site is, if you have an idea, go for it. I'm not stopping you unless it's like something very explicit. There was one, well, except for that one time where Chris, not my brother, but another Chris that worked on the site for a little bit, like he was working on like hentai reviews and he was posting them on the site. And I was okay with it at first, but then my brother kind of looked at me. It's like, you try to take that down. And the thing about it, it's like, yeah, I probably should.
What's really funny is that while we were doing the podcast, I ended up doing I started, I don't want to say work, but I started streaming for a different group entirely. Half Empty Energy Tank, which I know I've talked about 100 times on this podcast because I even went to North Carolina and whatnot. And which is where they are. And that was my first foray into like noticing what's working and what's not working. And what I mean by that is like Anthony and I loved doing the podcast. I found it therapeutic, but I noticed it just wasn't really jiving. Like we started having a few listeners when we were doing it live, but it just wasn't. It didn't seem like it was going anywhere. Like the growth just didn't seem existent. Like you kept saying the numbers were increasing on the downloads or the listens or something like that, but I was like, we always say listen to us live. We always say that in the podcast, but like the same 5 people showed up every week. We're like, anyone new? Anyone?
Yeah, and I think I think the reason for that is maybe Anchor's numbers were inflated because I kept seeing the numbers go up, and I was thinking to myself like, oh wow, we gotta. Like freaking look at the numbers going up. It's like 100 to 1,000. Like, oh shit. But like, I think what I realized afterwards is like it was actually the number of total downloads. So it wasn't actual like real listeners. And I after a while I kind of just like don't know the true numbers of our subscribers just because like our website, our podcast, has been like just used and distributed like all over the internet to podcast services I never heard of until like I look them up. So I was like, oh, I guess we're on Podchaser. Okay, I guess we're on SoundCloud. Okay. So like I can never get a real number as far as like how many do listen to us. And I always said like I don't care if it's like 5 or 10 or 3 people. I generally like to podcasts. So numbers didn't quite.
Yeah. Well, I think for me it was more or less like we put so much time and effort into it that regular life, just doing the daily stresses of life and the regular work schedule, it became harder and harder to justify taking the time that we were.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kept trying to change what we were doing on the podcast in the hopes that maybe changing it to be more entertaining. I thought maybe a stricter way setup was going to be more of what people wanted to hear. I thought maybe going to the extent of like I think we tried for like at the very end there we tried like a different thing where we're like, hey, everyone bring in one topic, and it just never never went anywhere.
It never did,
Like,
and I think that it's because the landscape is obviously very competitive, and then like anybody, like every other person out there that is remotely interested in games has a podcast, so it's kind of
right. It's the podcast scene is very oversaturated.
yeah.
I think a lot of the time when it comes to internet entertainment, you really got to bring something new to the table that people haven't seen, or that people have seen but in a new way. And we clearly weren't doing that.
No, we tried every other avenue, and I think that we kind of hit a wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why this podcast that we're doing right now exists, to let you know like what was going through our minds and the struggles that we like. Anthony and I tried to make it work. We really did.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
I think for us, when you went to LA for the first time, and we didn't do the podcast for what seemed like 6 months. I might be overdoing that or underdoing that. I don't remember how long it was between you moving and us doing another podcast, but I think you and I kind of had the same feeling when we did that first podcast after you were in like your uncle's place or whatever.
Yeah.
We were both just kind of like, is this worth it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was an obligation, I think.
There definitely was, and it was an obligation, and it's definitely something that I wanted to continue. And it at some point, and I think what I sent you a message long. I can't remember when exactly, but I kind of just asked you. I forgot what the question, but like it kind of went down to basically like life pretty much hit us both, huh? Like
Yeah. Well, it was funny because when you messaged me that, I was sort of thinking like Anthony wants to keep this going, and we've been at it for so long together. I don't feel like it would be right for me to just be like, nope, fuck you, Anthony, I'm done. So I was trying to figure out a way that we could do it that would be entertaining for both of us and less stressful. And then you came back with, and I won't forget it, Anthony. Oh, I was kind of expecting you to just want to end it.
oh. No, like because like what was it at the time? What was it? I was kind of I think this is more recent, but like at the time when I was thinking about it, I was like, man, this probably isn't gonna go anywhere. I'm thinking maybe I should shut it down. Maybe it's time to move on, to focus on my own branding. But then it's like, but I don't want to stop making content with Greg. We like to still work together and make stuff. So it's like,
yeah, this conversation, just for anyone listening, this wasn't about Anthony and I like ending our friendship or what we want to do together. It was quite literally like it was just a podcast.
yeah,
Literally, like
yeah.
It's just not working. Like as much fun as we have, I think honestly, and I don't know if you feel the same way, Anthony, but like if we can figure out a way in the future to work together on doing certain projects where we make not scripted shows, but shows in the way that like are about that are more representative of us, that we can put the content out there and be proud of it, versus just like fucking shoveling out garbage every week. Kind of what the podcast was. Like, yes, you put in a ton of effort to find articles, but at the end of the day, we're just regurgitating what's already out there.
Yeah.
I want to do something different. I know you do too.
Yeah. Hence, I mean, we're kind of going ahead of here, but hence, like, the idea I think I brought to you regarding, like, hey, so I'm thinking about not producing any more content for a website, but I'm thinking of making this content for our YouTube channel, and other, whatever social media things attached to it, of content we just want to do. Like, the idea came to me, like, from, and I'm not sure if it's still going on right now, but Brian Altano and Max Scovell have this podcast called Weird Heat. It's basically like the both of them are talking about different subjects and kind of going in depth with them. And it ranges from different type of things they're talking about. And then you got me to thinking, like, man, what if we did something like that? Like, what if we just produce content we wanted to produce, and then our YouTube channel is basically just our I won't say our gallery, but basically just stuff that we want to do and people to see to the 3 or whatever viewers are out there. So yeah, that's kind of how it came into be. So yeah, and it got to the point where I was talking to you, Greg. It's like I felt like, again, first thing I said at the beginning of this podcast is that I just felt I the minute I thought about making more content for the website itself, it was a really big turnoff for me. Like I was like, I don't want to do any more content for the site. I don't have the energy to.
I mean, if it counts for anything, I've been feeling that way for a long time. Like,
wow, I'm sorry.
Well, again, it comes to, like, I mean, why do you think I haven't written a review for the site in a long time?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, maybe it's that part of my brain. Like when a creator out there goes, for example, recent news, Team 4 Star is done with, they're done doing the DBZ abridged.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And I saw that and I went, oh, that kind of sucks, but I get it. I totally get it, because I've felt that burnout too. I left half empty for that same reason. I felt like you can only punch a brick wall for so long and not see any advancement before you're just like, I'm done. Yeah. I'm fucking done.
Yeah.
But even in like success terms, like I'm sorry, burnout is real regardless of success. Like, or success or not success. Like, when one of the actors who makes millions of dollars playing a superhero says, I'm kind of done, I get it,
Oh, absolutely. When I saw that post of them saying that they are stopping after 11 years, it's like, oh, I totally get it. Like, yeah, I totally get it.
So. Yeah, and it's and we're not to put it this way in terms of whatever, but we're not successful in those terms. I feel like we're successful in that we gave it a shot. We learned from it. We learned what we needed to learn from it. But you and I definitely are experiencing burnout on it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
You like I said, you punch a brick wall for so long, and you just kind of go, I'm done. I'm just done. Yeah. I don't feel like doing this anymore. I don't feel like the stress anymore, and you just kind of got to pack it in and say, I'm finished, guys. I sorry for anyone that loved it, but
yeah,
it's done.
Yeah, and not to say like, to the actual listeners out there, like, who actually enjoyed our stuff. You guys
appreciate the hell out of you.
Yeah, I'm surprised you managed to hang on for this long. And it's awesome that we had a voice, and we had some sort of an audience out there. I remember meeting a fan, actually a fan of me one year. And
that's always a trip.
Yeah, and it was funny because my friend at the time, I think, talked to him or told him to listen to it. I'm not sure how he found us, but I was talking to him, and he's like, yeah, listen to the podcast. It's like, wait, really? He's like, yeah, you guys are awesome, cool. And he's talking about E3, and that was during time like Fanime happened, so like E3 was around the corner, and I was telling him like, yeah, me and Greg are excited to do E3 coverage, and cannot wait to do it. So like we do have listeners out there. It's just like, they're awesome, and they're pretty cool. It surprises me every other time it happens. So when you meet somebody in real life, it's like, oh shit, you actually give a damn about what I say. What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember getting into long-winded conversations about a fucking thing that always came up was like loot boxes and microtransactions. Because I felt like it was more of a nuanced topic and conversation than everyone was willing to give it.
Yeah.
So it always came up. Always came up. But
yeah. Yeah.
It started for me. I don't know what it was, but over the past like year or so, I've started having panic attacks.
Oh shit.
So having those kind of arguments, like I can't do anymore. I just can't. Or like a panic attack will happen. So I think that's another thing for me. I'm like, I want to do a podcast where I give my opinion, but I don't want to have an argument, you know?
Mm-hmm.
At least not one with somebody like Alex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alex, if you're listening to this, I love you, buddy, but Jesus Christ, are you intense? And he knows he's intense, so I'm not saying anything he's like never heard before.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think in the future, for sure, Anthony and I are going to do some stuff. There might be a revival of What's on Tap at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you and I both did enjoy doing that.
We did. It was a lot of fun. I still have, like, there are still some stuff I have still yet to edit and upload. It'll get done at some point. I've just bogged down with other videos I need to get done.
And life.
That is true. And life as well. Life as well. At some point you will see them go up, but yeah, like there are definitely some ideas that we did in the past or we've done, and I would definitely like to visit again. Um, and then other ideas we might do in the future, and just like other weird shit. Um, this next chapter, I feel, is just going to be an openness. I want to say open mindedness to just whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable saying, like, the ideas I'm thinking of is, I talked to you, Greg, about it, is I'm thinking about doing a when I get back more into streaming, I want to do a show, kind of almost like a Stephen Colbert or a night a late night show. I kind of talk today. A late night show, basically, and
Right.
and focus on interviewing affiliates on Twitch, and kind of asking them questions, and then but have that same demeanor as if it was a late night show. And I asked, Greg, like, what if you did, like, help me with the monologue, for beginning the show, because as much as I love to laugh and watch comedy stuff, I have no idea in that field how to make that happen. So, like, Greg would be the one that would be helping me out, like, hey, if you did a monologue,
Well, I think
how'd that work?
I think if we're doing something like that for Twitch, we definitely need to make it work for Twitch. If we just did what, the late night show hosts do, where Anthony comes out and he does like a half-assed monologue that's written by 8 different people, or at least it seems that way. It's gonna not come off as genuine. So we need to make it genuine. We need to make sure that it feels genuine, even though make it transparent and let people know that you're telling some other writer's jokes or what the fuck ever.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of interviewing affiliates and getting their opinion on Twitch or the streaming world as a whole, and I definitely want to explore that in the future.
Yeah.
I know that one of my major goals going into 2020 is I guess it's 2020. Pardon me. Y'all came out of nowhere. One of my major goals this year is to get my life to the point where I can sustain myself. The entire time doing any of these podcasts, the past 10 years have been really rough. So for anyone who doesn't know or hasn't heard, I have been mostly unemployed while doing this podcast, while doing the freaking awesome podcast, while streaming for Heat. I didn't get a job like I got fired / quit from Walmart back in 2009, and then I didn't find another job until 2015. And that was November of 2015, so realistically, it wasn't even that year. And that wasn't even a full-time job. That was just like 3 or 4 hours a day at various different schools in the lunch area as a substitute. So I didn't even really have a full-time job. And because of like just in general how I've seen the world, how I treated the world as a young person in my 20s was very stupid and very irresponsible, and I never built up a credit line. I continued to get fatter and more depressed, and things just kind of sucked. And as of right now in my life, I'm not in a position to be on my own. If tomorrow this house was gone, my parents were gone, I'd be homeless, straight up. So I need to be at a better place in my life. I need to be at a better financial readiness, if you will. So that's my goal for 2020, is to get to the point where I can be independent, fully independent. Once I'm there, I think content can come more fluidly for me.
Absolutely, yeah. That's one of my goals. That's one of my goals too. Because I
got really deep there for a second. Sorry.
No, it's perfectly fine. No, it's perfectly fine. Like, this is quote unquote the last episode of this podcast series, so you know.
I know a lot of people who used to listen to this and be like, "What the fuck?" Like in the
subscription. Like, no, it's perfectly fine. Like, that is a goal that I hope you get, and I understand that, because for me, like, the reason why I haven't streamed at all is because I live with my brother now, and we live in the same room. It's harder for me to find times where he's not here, because the only possible times I'm able to do content is, like, at least on the internet, stream wise, or would be like in the mornings on Saturday and Sundays, because my brother goes out and work. But now it's at a point where, like, outside of those days, like, every other day he is here with his girlfriend, so it's kind of harder for me to, like, oh, I want to stream this night, and kind of tell him ahead of time. Yeah. So that's what I'm hoping for. Oh, sorry.
When we were doing the podcast, like, every week, and it was a fluid sort of thing, and putting your effort in, like, I was unemployed, you were going to school and didn't really have a job, like, that was our life.
Yeah.
So it was a lot easier to make content. Now that you and I are just like, hey, we're adults now and have to be responsible for things, like, it's a bit tougher. So
yeah, life. Yeah, and it's funny, as like I said, life kind of hit us. Now that we are quote unquote adults, we have responsibilities to take care of.
We've been adults for a long time. It just be responsible adults.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true.
It's funny. My dad sits there and tells me, like, because I still do the All Queued Up podcast with my buddy Josh Fisher. But I was telling him how you and I don't do this podcast anymore. And he was sitting there telling me, he's like, your grandfather would hate that you're spending your time on this trivial shit. And I was like, why do you say that? And he goes, well, because he did quotations, because my grandpa would call it trivial shit. Because my grandpa had the attitude of, like, when you hit a certain age, you leave child stuff behind, period. Like, there is no such thing as enjoying a hobby that isn't beneficial to you. Like, his hobbies were quite literally, like, building usable objects, like tools and stuff. But we live in a new renaissance, and that's just not the case. It just isn't the case, period. We have the luxury of enjoying this kind of shit. And I know a lot of people disagree with me about the new renaissance, but it's a fucking new renaissance. I don't know what to say. Yeah, so when I tell him about that, like, there's a sense of being more responsible now, but I still want to do creative stuff. He just kind of laughs, and he's just like, yeah, well, that's life, Greg. And I'm like, it's not what I meant by that, Dad, but yeah.
Yeah. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's funny because I feel like in this day and age, like, especially what's going on in the world, like, and part of me kind of felt that way too about cosplaying. It's just like, at some point I can't do this anymore. But then my friends tell me, like, no, you can still cosplay in the old age, and they show me pictures of, like, this old lady that's, like, in her 70s that are still cosplaying. It's like, oh shit, okay, I guess I can still do this. All right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's the great thing too, is that, like, a lot of people are finding successful financial careers, or sorry, financial success, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
in doing what they love, and I love seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing tons of people just like putting themselves out there and trying things and making merch and it working, like, but all those people are doing something unique or have boobs, so it's just kind of, that was a joke, guys. I was just kidding. Not.
Ha 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 ha.
I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. Like,
right.
it's true.
No. I totally get it. I totally get it.
As a matter of fact, there's a guy that I watch on Twitch who got in a lot of trouble recently because he made a joke. Have you ever heard of Pay Money Wubby, Anthony?
I have not.
He was trying to find success on YouTube for a long time and making his comedy videos and all that kind of shit. But he recently got a lot of popularity because people found his ASMR video via Reddit, where he was kind of not making fun of ASMR, but making a comedy commentary on a 12-year-old girl doing ASMR, which I totally get his opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
But that fucking sparked. He then got a huge following on Twitch, which he streams like every once in a while, but it only streams like 4 hours a night, 4 to 5 hours, and he just has a huge number of subscribers and followers and yada yada yada. And he went and streamed in a restaurant, and he asked the manager and the employees if they were cool about being on stream and if it was cool, and they said yeah. Somehow Twitch got word that or his channel was banned or some shit because they thought that he didn't get permission.
Oh, huh.
And yeah, it was really strange. But from his perspective, he didn't know why. Like, his channel was just gone. But this was on a Friday, right? And on this same Friday, Gus Johnson, a big YouTuber right now, a big up and coming YouTuber. If you don't know Gus Johnson, I highly recommend going and checking out his shit because he is hilarious. Like, I wish I had just a modicum of his fucking talent. But he had Wubby on an episode, and this was a huge thing for Wubby. And to have Twitch like completely like ban his channel on the same day for something they didn't check up on was just absolutely ludicrous and bullshit. So then to further this problem, when he contacted his partner rep, the guy was like, I'm looking into it, but I can guarantee you, bud, like, you're not going to hear from anybody until Monday, because all the people that do that like check up on that and do that work, they're not going to be back until Monday. So he didn't hear anything until like the Wednesday after. Like almost an entire 5 fucking days he hears something, and his channel had just been gone for those 5 days. So any like new subs or reoccurring subs just poof, gone. And he was furious about it. So he's constantly been judging Twitch, and he made a joke on Twitter that was about it was like it showed 2 girls who what you would colloquially know as a titty streamer. And he showed 2 of them, and he says, so one of these girls is on the OnlyFans site, and the other one is on Twitch. Can you guess who? Just kidding, they're both on Twitch. The joke there is about Twitch's double standards. Not about like titty streamers. Like, it was clear that it's not about titty streamers. If you watch his stream for 5 seconds, you know it's not about titty streamers. But my God, Twitter was like, here comes another fucking dude, bro, who's pissed off about a girl having more viewers than him because she has boobs. It was like, that's not even close to the point.
Yeah.
Not even fucking close to the point. I don't know why I brought this up.
It's very loose. So I'm not gonna like steer course what the hell this podcast is gonna go.
We were talking about something that related to it. That's why I was like, oh, what the fuck were we talking about?
Right.
Like I just don't bring up things randomly for no reason. But
right.
How
we got here?
I don't remember. I really don't remember what we were talking about. That's the problem.
Right. Okay. That's
I know it related. Like, I'm gonna listen to this podcast later and be like, that's what I was fucking relating it
to. But I was gonna say, just thinking back at the stuff we did, like 10 years, like fucking A, man, that's a long time. That's longer than most sites of our content could last half or even less than that. It's just the thing I wanted to put out there, or when I was talking to Greg about like not doing any more content for the site, is like I'm going to preserve the site. Like I'm just going to continually just renew the license or the address for where it's hosted at every year, because I feel like I'd rather keep it up and just have it as an interactive gallery of just like, here's the work we've done over the 10 years. Here's all the work we've done. And now I went ahead and actually made some of the other stuff we did over the years, like that were hidden but now they're open. So like other ideas you can actually just go on the website and check out. Like here's some other ideas that we tried and just didn't pan out. Cause for a little bit, like I was trying to do a webcomic series for a little bit. But it turned out it's pretty hard to do actually. So there's some ideas in there on the site that's just like, hey, this is the we try to go for. But like there's a lot of shit on the site like over the years. Like holy fuck, tons and tons of photos, videos, articles, reviews, podcasts. Like it was just a ton of work. So I'm leaving that up until I freaking die. So like it's gonna be up. And I think I didn't look into this, but I think I can archive it on archive.org. I gotta read into it, but I believe I can go ahead and actually do that, so that even if, say, I die and then the license when I'm unable to like renew, I think archive.org will still have it. So
I mean, it's definitely something that I'm happy you're doing because I can look back at it for years to come. But if it gets to the point where it doesn't matter, like I wouldn't worry about it. But
fuck you, I want to keep it up, man. Look, if you spent 10 years working on content for a website, I'm keeping that up.
Yeah, I'm not saying don't. I'm not saying don't at all. I'm saying if it gets to the point where, like, you don't care about it, other people don't care about it, like, then what's the point? But I don't know that it'll ever get to that point.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
I've had experiences in the past where my work just disappeared, and it really upset me. Like, and I'm not naming names because there's a lot of people. It's not just one group.
Mm-hmm.
But it sucks. It sucks when you work on something and it's just gone. It's just gone.
Yeah,
I do appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Like I again, why waste away all the work we've done over the past 10 years? Like, what's the point of just kind of throwing away the work that you've done and you can't show it anymore? So, I'm keeping that up, no matter what. So, but yeah,
guys, I do gotta call it here. I have a busy day tomorrow, so I gotta end it soon.
Okay.
But yeah, guys, you know what? Thank you so much for listening for over the years. If you continue to listen, it's been fun. It really has. I know that the past year and a half or so has not been very consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But we tried. We definitely tried. We did what we could.
Yeah. And this isn't
fun doing it.
Yeah, and this isn't a goodbye. Like, we are, again, Greg and I talked about it. We're going to still produce content, which is going to be on our YouTube channel, which is right now the same at Mission Star Tubes. But even then, like, I had, like, thoughts about, like, maybe we should change our name from Mission Star Podcast to something else, to kind of as a signal for our next chapter in our lives. Or keep the same. I don't know. I'm still kind of figuring that out. But yeah, like we still plan to produce content in the future. Like, we're not going away. We're not breaking up. We're just
I still like doing video game reviews, and I know Anthony still likes going to conventions, so that could be content in the future. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, there's tons of ideas I want to do. So yeah, definitely we'll be making something. Don't worry, we'll still be around.
Yeah.
So before we go,
a lot of this is mainly just the podcast is going away.
yeah, and the website content and whatnot. So
yeah.
So before we end this last podcast, Greg, where can they find you on the internet?
As of right now, you can follow me on all social medias at Chubrockgeek. I now have a TikTok and a Byte if you want to follow me there. Not a whole lot of content on either one, obviously, but it's something. On TikTok, I have my likes available, and I like a lot of funny content. So if there's a bunch of stuff that you want to see that like my sense of humor, TikTok is a great, like, TikTok got better over time, by the way. Like, it's got a lot of very fucking funny people on there, but
I should get back into that. I was looking at it for a little bit, but I kind of stopped.
At first TikTok, like, it was just about like, oh, the furries versus the gamers, and then that stopped very quickly, and now it's like you got people on there making little sketches, making little bits, doing like stand-up things. It's great.
Nice.
But yeah, you can follow me there. I do a podcast, obviously, with my buddy Josh Fisher, all queued up, where we talk about 2 shows in their entirety on an internet streaming platform. We give our thoughts and opinions, and then we do a secondary show. So we do the show every week, but we only do the review every other week. In between those review episodes, we do a show called Uninhibited, where we just kind of shoot the shit for an hour and a half, give or take. Those are arguably doing better than our regular podcast, but I think that's just because it's fun. It's just fun. I recently told a very personal story that is hilarious. Anthony knows about it. I'll just say this much: the couch.
Yeah.
So, if you haven't heard that story and want to hear it, I told that story on Uninhibited. So if you go to allqueueduppodcast.com, we have every episode there. I'm gonna try to figure out a way to archive all of our scores. We'll see where that goes, but yeah, I don't know. It's a growing podcast. We're having a lot of fun with it, and if you're looking for what to watch on Netflix, if you're looking for good shows, I can tell you right now, as far as I'm concerned, there really isn't any good anime on Netflix other than maybe like Agretsuko and
okay. I was about to say.
Agretsuko and I haven't watched it yet, but I know that people love that very hardcore anime. What the fuck's it called? It just released on Netflix, but it's an old '90s anime.
Neon Genesis?
No. Yes. Evangelion. That's what I was trying to think.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because like we didn't like Devilman Crybaby, it was. This doesn't make any damn sense. We didn't. We watched a few anime on there that we were like, ugh. But
I like the fact that you're bringing this up now, like as the day's recording, like the Crunchyroll Anime Awards things happening this weekend. So,
I think people watch certain things and they're like, this animation style was really pretty. Give it an award. And I'm just like, yeah, but was the story good?
Yeah, that's yeah.
So that's my aspect. But yeah, so you can follow me there. And you can also follow my Twitch channel, Chubrockgeek, twitch.tv/Chubrockgeek. That's where I'll be playing a lot of Jackbox. I've looked into it, and apparently the Oculus Quest can stream.
Yes.
So there might be some future streams on Oculus Quest. We'll see.
Oh man, cannot wait. Greg, Beat Saber stream win.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
good time.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, I'm very excited about having that.
Awesome. For me,
that's it. Yeah.
For me, you can follow me on all my social media. Well, I would say Twitter at Defective Naruto. I would say that Yeah, it's kind of weird now. I no longer am making stuff for the site. It's like what do I plug now? Um, I would say that I am been working on my own brand in terms of Twitch streaming when I get back to that. So I have a Twitter account, which is twitter.com/clawmaster underscore, which is the same as my Twitch channel, which is clawmaster underscore as well. I'm making stuff for the Twitch channel when I come back, and all I gotta say is, if you enjoyed my Skullgirls content before, my production values are gonna go up way higher, and I'm super excited when I come back with awesome ideas and that jazz. Um, so I've been working hard at that amongst other ideas and projects. Outside of that, again, follow me and Greg on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/MissionStarTubes, which may change, but that's where our future content will be at. And that's about it. It's weird. I can't say Mission Start stuff anymore. It's so weird.
Yeah.
I will say that this podcast will be probably uploaded to our podcast feed anyways, and to our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But it goes without saying. But it just feels weird, man. Like I gotta find.
Yeah.
I gotta.
This
find...
is the goodbye. We'll just see you later. Like we'll see you around the river bend.
Pretty much, yeah. So, but yeah, man. Again, it's been a hell of a ride for the content we produce on the site, and 10 years is a long time, and boy, man, it's a hell of a ride. But it's not a goodbye. It's a see you around. We're definitely gonna be back. It's the next chapter in our lives. So, with that being, go ahead.
We're getting stronger. We're come back as Super Saiyans.
Exactly.
I beat Kakarot. It was a good game. I enjoyed it.
Nice, awesome. I saw that and I was like, yeah, that looks good. It hits all the Dragon Ball Z storyline. So I was like, all right, cool.
I enjoyed it.
So, with that being said, thank you all very much for listening. Before I forget, thank you everybody, listeners, supporters. You guys have been the best. You guys have been awesome. If you had talked to us, or if you have given our website a click, thank you very much. You give us a listen. You guys have been the best. I don't know why you keep listening to us, but somehow you were. So, but with that being said, thank you all. We love you. And we'll see you guys next time.